There was a time when I walked into rooms and felt like air. Not hated, not rejected, just not seen. People didn't ignore me out of cruelty. They just didn't feel me. I could speak and be skipped over that post and be overlooked. Offer help and get polite smiles. And I thought the answer was to change myself, be louder, be smarter, be funnier. But it never worked. Because here's what I've learned. You don't become magnetic by becoming someone else. You become magnetic by finally transmitting who you already are, clearly, unapologetically, emotionally aligned. Invisibility isn't about appearance, it's about frequency. And once I understood that, everything changed, without performance, without force, without pretending. I'm the time distorter. And this is how I stopped disappearing in a room full of people. By becoming someone my own nervous system could finally trust. We grow up believing that being noticed is about being impressive. We study what to say, how to say it. We polish our tone, our body language, our credentials. But still, something's missing because people don't respond to facts. They respond to signals. And most people are broadcasting confusion. You walk into a room, you smile, you speak, but something feels off. You're trying, you're showing up, but your presence lands like static. Why? Because your energy says one thing, while your mouth says another. And whether they realize it or not, people pick up on that mismatch. It's not about logic, it's about emotional resonance. This mismatch has a name. It's called emotional dissonance. It's when your nervous system is caught between pretending and protecting. You say, I'm fine, but feel anxious. You say, I'm happy to help, but feel depleted. You say, I'm confident, but carry self-doubt under every syllable. And even if you don't notice it, others do. Humans are wired to scan for emotional congruence. We trust what asterisk feels real asterisk, not what sounds perfect. When you're not aligned inside, your energy becomes fuzzy, unreadable, unsettling. And the unconscious response from others, distance. They don't pull away because they dislike you. They pull away because they can't place you. They sense a disruption in the signal, and their system says, avoid. This is why so many people feel invisible, not because they lack value, but because they haven't fully accepted their own emotional presence. And here's the twist. You haven't truly landed inside yourself. No one else will land with you. Your invisibility isn't a rejection. It's a reflection. It mirrors the internal static you haven't yet cleared. You don't become visible by shouting louder. You become visible by broadcasting cleaner. By standing in a space where your thoughts, feelings, and presence say the same thing. And that begins not with changing your words, but with checking your signal. Why trying to be seen makes you less visible? We've all done it. We've all tried to earn visibility. You enter a conversation, and you try to be useful. You add value, make a smart point. You offer help. You laugh a little too loud. You smile just a bit harder than you feel. And for a moment, it seems like it's working. You're animated, responsive, engaged. But deep down, you feel hollow. Because even if people are looking at you, they're not feeling you. Here's the paradox. The harder you try to be seen, the more invisible you become. Why? Because true presence doesn't chase. It anchors. When your energy comes from lack, from a place of needing to be accepted, it doesn't pull people in. It pushes them away. Desperation is subtle, but it leaks through tone, through pacing, through the small cracks between your words. It's not about what you're saying. It's about what your nervous system is broadcasting underneath. And the message is this: I'm not enough, but I'm trying really hard to be. That's what people respond to. Even if they can't name it. It creates discomfort, a sense of something being off, because humans don't connect to performance. They connect to permission, permission to be real, to be whole, to be imperfect without apology. When you over-explain, overperform, or overshare, you're trying to buy presence with effort. But presence can't be bought. It can only be revealed. People don't trust masks. They trust resonance. And resonance comes from stillness, from alignment. The most magnetic people aren't auditioning. They're existing. They're not trying to be interesting. They're fully rooted in their experience. And that groundedness, that non-performance, is what makes them unforgettable. So, if you've been working hard to be seen, maybe it's time to ask, what would it look like to simply be? No pitch, no performance, no proof. Just presence. The turning point. When I stopped performing, there was this night, a casual gathering, small room, familiar faces, warm energy, easy smiles. But I felt like furniture. Present, but peripheral. Everyone was engaged, and I was just orbiting. So I did what I always did. I tried harder. I shared a sharp insight, told a story I thought would land. Nodded at the right moments, offered something helpful. Still, nothing shifted. It wasn't cruelty. It was emptiness. I was participating, but not arriving. Performing, but not connecting. And then, something cracked. Not in the room, in me. Not out of strategy, not as a tactic, but out of exhaustion. I stopped. I stopped trying to say the perfect thing. Stopped angling for attention. Stopped filtering every word through the question, will this make me worthy? And I said the only thing I could say with full honesty. I don't feel real right now. Silence. Then something happened. For the first time that night, they looked at me. Really looked. Not with pity. With presence. Because I wasn't trying to be impressive anymore. I was being honest. And in that moment, I didn't just become visible. I became felt. Not for what I was saying, but for what I finally stopped hiding. Here's the truth most people miss. You don't become present by adding more. You become present by stripping away the noise. Presence is born the moment performance dies. Not because you disappear, but because your real self, the unguarded one, finally comes forward. It took me years of pretending to realize what only one breath of honesty could unlock. Not more effort, but less armor. And since that night, I've learned this. When you stop managing your image, people meet your presence. And that it changes everything. The 3-layer framework of energetic presence. When people meet you, they're not just noticing your words. They're reading your energy across layers, and there are 3 of them. Layer 1, the surface. This is what most people focus on. How you speak, how you dress, how you carry yourself. It's what gets polished for interviews, dates, and first impressions. But surface alone doesn't create connection. Layer 2, the signal. This is your felt sense of safety in your own skin. When you walk into a room, are you grounded or guarded? Are you settled or scanning for approval? This layer isn't visible, but it's deeply perceptible. People feel it in your pauses, your tone, your eyes. And then there's layer 3, the signature. This is the hidden contract you carry with yourself about your worth. It's not what you say, it's what you believe, silently, subconsciously, about who you are. And here's the hard truth. Most people spend years trying to fix layer 1. Some begin strengthening layer 2. But very few ever confront layer 3. Because that's where your core narrative lives. If you secretly believe you're not enough, if you carry guilt, shame, or fear that you don't even name, it shows. It leaks through the most polished sentence. You could say all the right things and still, no one truly feels you. Because beneath, the message is a signal that says, I don't fully believe in myself. This is why magnetism can't be faked. It doesn't start with what you're doing. It starts with what you're holding inside. So if you've ever wondered why your presence feels diluted, look past your habits. Look at your agreement with yourself. Do you carry the belief that your voice matters, even when it's soft, that your energy deserves space, even when it's quiet, that your value doesn't need to be proven, only owned? Changing your vibe isn't about branding. It's about reconciling that internal belief system. Because when your surface, your signal, and your signature align, you don't have to try to be magnetic. You simply are. What actually makes people magnetic? We've been sold an image that to be magnetic, you need to be charismatic. Sharp, funny, charming. We imagine the person who lights up the room, tells the perfect story, never stumbles. But here's the twist. That's not magnetism. That's performance, and performance fades. What actually makes someone magnetic is presence. The kind of presence that doesn't ask, "Do you like me?" It simply says, "I'm here." No apology. No addition. No compensation. Magnetic people don't compete for attention. They're not louder. They're clearer. They don't try to convince you of their worth. They carry it. You can feel them before they speak. And when they do speak, it lands not because it's polished, but because it's uncompromised. They're not shaping their words to fit your expectations. They're speaking from alignment, from emotional clarity. And that clarity has weight. It cuts through noise. Because real magnetism isn't about being irresistible. It's about being unmistakable. Not flashy, not dominant. But deeply centered. The kind of energy that says, "I'm not here to perform. I'm not here to please. I'm here to exist fully in my own frequency." And here's the paradox. That kind of presence doesn't demand attention. It invites connection. Because in a world full of people trying to be liked, those who are at peace with themselves become rare. And what's rare draws us in. So if you've been chasing charisma, maybe it's time to return to coherence. Your magnetism doesn't start with the world reacting to you. It starts the moment you stop reacting to yourself. The practice that changed everything. For a long time, I thought presence was something you were born with. A personality trait. An aura. Something you either had or didn't. But I was wrong. Presence is not a gift. It's a practice, a skill, a signal you relearn how to send. And for me, it started with something incredibly simple. Every day, for 60 seconds, I would sit in silence. Hand on my chest, eyes closed, and ask one question. Can I feel myself right now without trying to fix anything? At first, it felt ridiculous. Uncomfortable. Like I was doing it wrong. Because I was so used to effort. To solving. To controlling. But this wasn't about control. It was about contact. Not fixing myself. Just feeling myself. Not thinking about my worth, but sensing it. And something started to shift. I became more aware of the tension I was carrying. The tiny contractions in my body when I doubted myself. The breath I was holding when I tried to prove I belonged. And in that stillness, I started to trust myself again. Not because I had achieved anything new, but because I finally stopped abandoning myself. That 60-second practice rewired my relationship with visibility. Because I wasn't waiting for others to feel me. I was practicing how to feel myself. Presence stopped being a mystery. It became a muscle. And over time, I didn't have to perform. Clarity. I could inhabit it. I didn't need louder strategies. I needed quieter contact. That's how I became magnetic. Not by adding noise, but by becoming clear with myself and the world. Simply follow that signal. You don't need to change who you are. You just need to stop sending the signal that you're not here. You don't need to speak louder. You need to speak from a place that's real. Stop rehearsing someone else's rhythm. Stop apologizing for your softness, your silence, your truth. You were never invisible. You were just emotionally muted by your own self-doubt. This isn't about performance, Dot. It's about permission. Permission to be, Dot, to breathe, to exist in your full signal without shrinking. And here's what I've learned. When you finally feel yourself, the world can't help but feel you too. If this felt like being seen, truly seen, subscribe. Not to become louder, but to become undeniably present. I'm the Time Distorter, and I'll be here every time you're ready to stop fading and start transmitting.